mentioned the off-season, how well it's gone because of the experience. Now that it's October, what can you say about the schedule you chose and how it is different from years past?
I love our schedule, is what I would tell you. And I think I like it so much because we've got an opportunity to continue to put our team out there on a national stage. You know, there's been so many things that have happened around here in our basketball program, and if you want to go far enough back to Coach Berry when the transition was made, and you know, come this time of year, I spend a lot of time thinking about him, and when I make decisions, when we make decisions, he's somebody that I think about when I make those kinds of decisions. And, you know, he took his teams on the road to wherever, you know, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, you name it, when they weren't at a level from a recruiting standpoint that they were going to be competitive. And he was doing those things so that someday we would take a competitive team on the road, or take a competitive team to the Bahamas, bring teams into this building that are on a national stage. And two things. That's what I want our program to be about. And two, I feel it's part of my responsibility. That Coach Berry had his responsibility, and you can go through the guys after him. And it's part of my responsibility to continue to carry that on and move us forward. And I think we've done that with our schedule this year. So I love it, and I'm excited about it.
How would you rate the health of the guys coming in? Because I know that remember last year that Austin Peele had some shin issues, and maybe a few other guys had some bumps and bruises, especially from your Brazil trip last year. But how about the health going into practice this year?
Guys are very, very healthy right now. We had a couple of minor deals pop up midweek last week. All four of those guys are 100% today, and they'll be ready to work out in our team workout tomorrow. Mitch, is there anybody that would be limited for as we get close to practice? I think everybody is very close to or at 100% from a health standpoint.
How did the new summer hours that you got with the players help, you think, in not doing the primetime league and having them here?
Yeah, the NCAA rule change that allowed us to have 2 hours of basketball skill instruction with our players was new this summer for us. We really enjoyed it from a staff standpoint. I think the players enjoyed it as well. You know, the opportunity to spend some time with the players in the summer. The basketball was good. Helping them improve as basketball players is an important part of it. But I think more from a relationship standpoint. You know, for the most part, until this past summer, the months of June and July, the only time that we could see them or talk to them was you know, at our summer camps if they were working camp for us, or up in the office. We couldn't walk down to the floor and be around them while they were getting some shots up on their own. We couldn't walk into the weight room. You know, we couldn't be around them. And I just felt like, you know, in particular for the new guys, but also from a program standpoint, just to be able to be working with them, you know, helping them get better is an important part of building that family and building that foundation. So we really enjoyed the 2 hours and felt like we got a lot out of it. Again, I think the best summer that we've had in 3 summers in getting ready for this season. And when I say that, you know, we've been in the primetime league every year I've been here until this year. So you know, you go back 4 summers, and we had a big time summer. Primetime was a part of it. So it isn't that we were in it or weren't in the primetime specifically. Much more to do with the 2 hours that we were afforded by the NCAA.
Given everybody that comes back, how much better of an idea do you have about what you've got right now than you did going into last year?
We've got a much better idea. Dion and Seth had great years. Chris and Matt Bohannon, very good redshirt freshman years. Marvin Singleton has improved a ton. But I will tell you that I'm really glad they're sophomores, and that those 5 guys are not freshmen again. And not because of anything they did, it's more because of what they don't know. You know, I talked about Dion and the kind of shape he's in right now. The shape or the condition that he was in last year was more a result of not knowing, as opposed to him not wanting to be in the kind of shape and the kind of condition you need to be in to play at a high level. So I think that's most of it. That year of experience, whether it's Dion and Seth that played a lot for us, or Marvin who didn't play nearly as much but traveled and was in the rotation early in the year, or for Matt and Chris, that redshirt, to be able to be at the games and see it, sitting right there at ground level. Those 5 guys are much better prepared for the upcoming season than they were a year ago.
You mentioned Marvin and Chris, big question marks as far as I can tell. How do you see them fitting in?
Oh, I think with Marvin and Chris, as well as Matt Bohannon, and then I would put Tyler Lang and Max Martino and Nate Buss. I'd put all 6 of those guys in the same category. All 6 of them much better prepared, as I've talked about a little bit this afternoon. Their preparation has been better than what it was a year ago. Having a year under their belt for the guys that are freshmen, so they're much better prepared, Carson. They're better players, and that gives them a better opportunity to be in the rotation. What I mentioned earlier, our expectations from a staff standpoint is that Marvin and Chris, in addition to the other 4 guys that are in that group that haven't played a lot of minutes, but have improved a lot, in that group of 6 that we have high expectations for, we're encouraging them every day to do everything they can to put themselves into the rotation. And that's going to go on for another 3 to 5 weeks at that kind of level. And then, at some point we've got to settle into our rotation, and we'll see where guys fall when we get to that point.
With title now at 230, that's a big aspect, a big change. Are you pleased with how much progress he made just in the weight?
Yeah, and he's 225. Today we've got 2 weeks, so he's trying to get another pound or 2 for the next 2 weeks. So he'll be between 225 and 230 is where he'll be when we start practice a week from Friday. And that's something that we wanted to get accomplished. That's something that Seth wanted to get accomplished. He found out last year that how physical it is at this level, and he wanted to be better prepared for it, and he is. He looks different. His confidence is different because of the work that he's put in, and because of how his body looks, and the fact that he is stronger. So we expect that he'll be a much better player than he was a year ago.
With Seth getting the weight and as well as Austin being a senior, are you going to maybe try to do a twin tower strategy between those 2 down low, or what are your options at the post?
Well, I think in addition to Austin and Seth, Chris Olivier and Tyler Lang, those would be the 4 players right now that we would play at that position. Last year, Jake Cook and Chip Rank were on the floor together quite a bit in the last month and a half of the season. That's an option for us. But with Chris Olivier now being eligible, Tyler Lang continues to improve. We've got more options at that center position than what we had a year ago.
It was clear what Johnny Moran did for you last year. Who are you going to challenge or look to take on that role this year?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing about leadership, at least from my standpoint. As guys get older, most guys, as they get older, they grow into that role. Johnny was that way from the day he stepped on campus. It's just part of who he was. And really in no way was he a vocal leader. His enthusiasm and the way he went about things, much more by his actions. And I think that's the part of it, Carson, that we need to, I would say collectively as a group, find a higher level of that. And in doing that, there's going to have to be some individuals. The most likely candidates are Mark Sonnen, Chip Rank. Those would be the 2 most likely individuals to move forward with some of their outward enthusiasm. But we've talked with our entire team and had an emphasis in our team workouts to this point about our communication and about our enthusiasm, and a lot to do with Johnny not being here. Winning at a high level, there needs to be a great level of enthusiasm. that has to be part of it. And I think at times we probably relied on Johnny too much. And this year, we're going to encourage and work with guys, so we've got more guys doing it. And we need to do a better job of that as a group. And, you know, the bottom line is with anything else, that starts with me and our coaching staff. And then there's, so we're gonna put a real emphasis on that.
How much does it help if you have multiple guys with a lot of experience that can kind of like fall into that role instead of just maybe Johnny last year was the only senior, now you have multiple guys that can maybe help out or.
Right. You know, when you think about a guy individually, so let's say Seth or Dion, right? They've got 1 year of experience. 1 year they didn't have last year when they got him. Now we've got 14 guys that are in that have an extra year, or their first year, but an extra year of experience. When you talk about it as a group, having 14 more years of experience on our team than we had a year ago, it's significant, isn't it? And each of the guys just has 1 more year, but we've got 14 guys back that have an extra year now, or their first year of experience. And I think that's going to help us with, you know, what you've asked with your question about guys taking over some of the responsibilities that Johnny had. And his leadership, his enthusiasm, his toughness, you know, those are the things that I'm confident we'll find from within that group. And when you've got 7 juniors and seniors, easier to replace some of those things than maybe last year. When we had some guys graduate, Lucas and Kerwin and Joe, and Johnny's the only guy moving into that senior class. And then 4 juniors that roles changed drastically, as I talked about earlier today. So I feel better about that part of it, because the 7 guys that are moving up a class into that junior and senior class just have, you know, there's more of them, and there's more experience in that group than what we had a year ago.
Is this the best senior class you've had so far at UNI?
We won't know that for, how many days till March, anybody? We won't know that for a few months. We've had some good ones, and I expect that this one will be in that same category when they're done. And I've talked to those 4 guys about that, how they want their careers to be, the tradition that they're going to leave behind, and they're enthused about what we've got ahead of us. So, well, you can ask me next year how the senior class of this team compares to some of the others.
What about the potential of that class then? What do you think about their potential?
You know, those guys have they've been significant contributors to our program for a couple of years already. And anytime you've got that, and then move into your senior year, I think again, going back to our off season, the motivation to get better is really high, and we saw that with those guys. We're still seeing it right now in our fall workouts. So they've prepared themselves very well, and that to me is the key. You know, once we get to a certain point, we get another 3 to 5 weeks down the road, you're still working and you're preparing, but it's more as a group. It's more as a team. Individually, there's still room for the next 3 to 5 weeks to improve. And the 4 seniors are doing a great job right now in our strength and conditioning. They're doing a great job with their leadership. They're doing a great job with their workouts. They are in above and beyond their time, getting extra things done. So they're doing the right things to make sure they're prepared.
Assess the conference, Coach. What do you think the Missouri Valley Conference is going to be like this year?
I think very good again. Last year and this year, Gary, I think we're back to where we were maybe 4 or 5 years ago when we were able to string together 2, 3, 4 years where the league was really good, inside the top 10 for sure, and closer to 5, 6, 7, 8 in terms of strength of league across the country. I feel like this year will be very comparable to last year. If things break the right way, it can be better than last year. If they don't, I still think it's going to be very close to it, where we've got a couple of teams that are in position for at-large bids when we get to conference play. I think we've got those kind of teams. And I think the depth of the league is going to be very good again.
Coach, you mentioned Washburn a little bit earlier. This is basically a redshirt year for him, although he's had some divisional experience earlier. Because of that, you approach it differently with him? How do you treat him when he's not going to play for an entire year?
Yeah, you know, as I mentioned, some of the intangible things he brings are terrific. His enthusiasm and his communication, and those things are going to be very good for us at practice. From a playing standpoint, he's got great quickness. He's got great speed. He's a high-level defender. Now, there's some things I think within his game at the defensive end in terms of his footwork and some things that we can work on and improve this year. So he's an even better defender when he's eligible next year to play. At the offensive end of the floor, he's very fast with the ball. He's very good in transition. But again, I think there's a couple things with his game offensively where he can really benefit from the redshirt year and spend time working individually to improve some things with his ball handling, to improve some things with his footwork, to improve his jump shot. And then they'll be able to be in the weight room 3 or 4 days a week for the entire season. And that's shown to be a real benefit for guys that have been in that same situation. So I love his enthusiasm, and he's a guy that's going to have a great career here. And we've got the better part of 5 or 6 months to work with him and help him improve in some areas that are going to make him better.
With the Anthony James situation, does he jump back into that 4th game, into the rotation like we had originally planned coming out of last year?
I fully expect that he will. Carson, his workouts have been great. In the strength and conditioning room, he's shown very good leadership. He and Mark are in 4 or 5 days a week outside of individual workouts, outside of team workouts. The required activities that we have, he's in there with Mark, and they're getting extra shots. So his preparation this fall has been great. And, it was only briefly stated, but as I told our team, that situation has been taken care of and is now behind us. And so everything from that point, when the situation was dealt with going forward, he's no different than the other 15 guys. And I expect that his preparation will be the same as the other 15 guys, and he's doing all of those things. And in terms of exactly what our rotation will look like when we get to the Louisville game, I can't answer that question today. We've got too much to do between now and then. But I can tell you, and also tell you that I'm proud of the way he's handled himself with his workouts. And he's preparing himself very well. I really like what he's doing right now. And so he's going to be ready to go. He's going to be raring to go. He's going to be ready to go. And he is a significant part of our basketball team. And I expect that he will be on that game floor against Louisville. Yep.
Talking about some of the advantages of having Seth and Dion, what are some of the hurdles they face now that teams kind of know what they have and continue to improve?
Yeah, I think that's always one of the challenges. When you're either a first-year guy, whether it be a freshman or a transfer that gets eligible or a junior college, when you're a first-year guy, sometimes I'd say probably most of the time, scouting reports are geared toward other players. And in our case last year, scouting reports started with Anthony James and Jake Cook, and then Seth and Dion were down that scouting report, and that's going to change some form. I think one of the things that's going to benefit Dion and Seth is that they aren't moving from the role they were in last year to, if the 4 guys that are seniors now had been with Johnny last year, and all 5 of those guys had graduated and moved on, and they go immediately from being the freshman and being down that scouting report to the first and second guy, without a Jake Cook, without a Mark Sonnen, without an Anthony James, without a Chip Rank. That transition can be a little more difficult. I think that Dion and Seth fully expect to be providing the same kind of punch to our team as Jake, AJ, Mark, Chip, Matt. Those guys are prepared and they're ready. And so I'm confident that they'll handle that transition. It is an important one, though, because now people, as you mentioned, people know better who they are. They know better what they're good at, where they're effective. So they're going to go through some of that. And I feel very good about their preparation. I think that they're ready to handle that transition.
Then what do you need to see out of Bohannon and Bus this fall to get them in your rotation? What can they give you maybe they didn't have last year?
Well, you know, Bohannon shoots the ball as well as anybody in our program right now. Can really, really shoot it in from the three-point line. And in addition to that, he's got a good feel for how to play the game. You know, he can put it on the floor just enough. He passes the ball good. I think both of those areas will improve as he gains experience. But he does a little bit of those things right now. So he's not just a standstill shooter. Defensively, he's very cerebral, in the right place, going to do the right things. He's got some work to do still in terms of just guarding the basketball out in space, you know, being out there just one-on-one and being able to stay in front of a guy in that kind of setting. However, I think with some experience he's going to do fine there because he is smart enough and he really understands concepts. So, and Nate Buss is he's worked as hard as anybody. You know, the injury last year was a freak deal. Nate was more disappointed than anyone. He felt like he let his teammates down with that situation, and he has been as motivated and has worked as hard as anybody in our program. And he brings some versatility. He can play the small forward. He can play the power forward. He's added a lot of strength now to be able to rebound a little bit in traffic. He's got a real knack for scoring. He can score around the basket. He can post a little bit. He can put on the floor a little bit. He can make a three-point shot. He's got some versatility to his game, and he's got some size and some length that we haven't had.
Coach, talk about your multi-team event this year down in the Bahamas. Is that the toughest? Is this the toughest multi-team event in terms of the field that you've played in your time as head coach? And then also just touch briefly on bringing a marquee team like St. Mary's in here to the McLeod Center to play a home game. Something that we haven't seen in a while in terms of a rather well-known large team coming in here.
Sure. Yeah, the Bahamas event is it's either the best event of the year this year, or it's tied with one other one. I haven't looked at all of them close enough, but there can't be another field that is easily better than the field that's playing in the Bahamas. I can't imagine that there's one out there this year. So you know, it's either the best event in the country in the November-December time period, or it is tied with somebody. It's a great field. It's a national field. All 8 teams have expectations of being in the NCAA tournament. You can make a great case that the 7 teams that we're in there with are all going to be top 40 teams in the country. And depending on how you wanted to slice it up, there's some top 10 teams. There's a group of top 20. There's a group of top 30. There may not be anybody outside the top 30 before it's all said and done. And all 7 of them may be inside the top 25. It could easily happen with this field. So a field that we're excited about, again, putting us on a national stage and an opportunity to go head-to-head with some quality teams. In terms of being able to get St. Mary's in here, you know, they've been a top 40 team for a number of years in a row now. They've got a high-level team again. Haven't played them last year. Their personnel is a lot the same. And I would expect that they're going to be, again, another team that's top 40. And if things go their way in November and December, Josh, they could be in the top 25 when they get here. And I think that's the other part of our schedule. You know, we for the most part, you know, people talk about the Bahamas event, St. Mary's, our game with Iowa and Des Moines, you know, at George Mason, at UNLV. You know, that's quite a group of games we've got there. But I think the thing that gets lost sometimes is the rest of our home games. The University of North Dakota is going to have their best team. Northern Colorado has recently been to the NCAA tournament. Toledo is going to have their best team. Somebody in the back help me with the 1 or 2 other. Wisconsin-Milwaukee has been an NCAA tournament team. Those may be our 4 other home games. But those 4 teams, you know, Milwaukee, Northern Colorado, Toledo, and North Dakota, they're teams that are either going to have their best team in recent years or have been to the NCAA tournament in recent years. You know, those teams are good. So our home schedule is good. And I understand why the talk is about the Bahamas and the road games and the neutral game with Iowa and St. Mary's coming here. But I think it's important for our fans to understand, and it goes without saying that our players do understand that the other home games we have are good basketball teams. And so it's a great schedule, as I've said.
So you think that all those, especially the home games you're just mentioning, with potential top 25 teams, I think you'll probably get a lot of national exposure. Maybe even bring in the ESPNs, the CBSs, the NBC Sportsnets into McLeod Center more.
You know, I don't know that that's going to change at this point with our non-conference home schedule. I think some of those things have happened over the course of the last number of years, in particular with ESPN. The number of games that we've had on ESPN or ESPN2 with Bracket Buster and in league play, those ones will be there again for us. The Bahamas event, I believe, is on NBC Sports, so those will be nationally televised games. And George Mason at UNLV, I would imagine there's a possibility of being national games. If not, is it the Mountain that covers UNLV, the Mountain West Channel? So there's plenty of opportunities for us this year to be on national TV.
How much does that help recruiting wise?
Oh, it's huge from a recruiting standpoint. There's no question. And you know, we've had some big time home environments that have been on ESPN, ESPN2, and that goes a long, long ways in recruiting. And you know, we've fortunately we've been able to have a number of the young guys we're recruiting in the building for home games and for some of those games, but you know, not everybody can be here for those games. And the opportunity to sit down and turn on ESPN, whether it's ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, the NCAA tournament on CBS, now NBC Sports for the Bahamas event, for them to, you know, for recruits and their families to be able to sit down and watch us, and again, not just watch our team, but to see who we're playing against and have it be on a national level, that has a tremendous impact in recruiting.
Would you also feel that you find a way to fill this arena every night, getting 7,500 people screaming in the purple and the gold all throughout the year? How do you feel that you want to get those people in here?
Well, I think we're headed that way. Our fans have been terrific. You know, we've had a number of games that have been at capacity and over capacity, and in those games, you know, it's no secret our team plays better, and so we've got great fans, and I think we're headed in that direction. I think there's a great deal of enthusiasm about this group of players that we've got. I think people are extremely excited about getting this year started with our men's basketball team. I know our players are. I know our coaching staff is. And we're counting on our student body. We're counting on our fans to be here, and I'm confident they will. They've been terrific. Anybody else? Thanks again for your time today. Appreciate it, and throughout the season. Thank you.